The only organ in our body that thinks, is often the one we think the least about, or hardly ever think about. Everywhere we look, YouTube videos, TV shows, websites, blogs, even books pound us with tips on how to exercise, eat healthy, live, and breathe. Our body's health is well taken care of, but what about our brains? Our brain is the single most important organ in our body, controlling everything we do, from breathing, walking, eating, sleeping, and many more. It is the central processor for all our bodily functions, the part that interprets what we see and hear, smell and taste, and even a place where the chemical reaction associated with love occurs. The brain is like a car engine. If it malfunctions, the whole body malfunctions. But did you know that the vast majority of us are engaged in daily habits that are actually hobbling our brain's ability to do its thing? Before I continue, if you are watching this video, please take 5 seconds to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more health tips and videos. With all this in mind, 10 common, bad habits that we practice daily, which will actually damage our brains include: 1. Sleep deprivation. Sleep is what biologists call a primary biological need, something that no animal can live without, like food and water. Long-term sleep deprivation leads to accelerated death of brain cells. This can lead to impaired memory and reduced faculties. After a sleepless night, you likely feel sluggish the next morning, and a small new study suggests why. Your brain cells feel sluggish, too. And when those brain cells are tired, you are more likely to be forgetful and easily distracted. Sleep deprivation makes it difficult for brain cells to communicate effectively, which, in turn, leads to temporary mental lapses that affect memory and visual perception. We discovered that starving the body of sleep also robs neurons of the ability to function properly. Senior study author Dr. Itzhak Fried, a professor of neurosurgery at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, said in a statement, "This paves the way for cognitive lapses in how we perceive and react to the world around us." We were fascinated to observe how sleep deprivation dampened brain cell activity, led study author Yuval Nir, a sleep researcher at Tel Aviv University in Israel, said in the statement. Unlike the usual rapid reaction, the neurons responded slowly, fired more weakly, and their transmissions dragged on longer than usual. The brain cleanses itself of toxins only during the deep sleep cycle. A good night's sleep, 8 hours, is vital for new brain cell development. The bad news is, we are getting less of it than ever. 2. No breakfast. You may have heard that skipping breakfast, often called the most important meal of the day, can actually cause you to gain weight. What you may not yet know is that it can also damage your brain. A Japanese study of over 80,000 people over a 15-year period found that participants who regularly skipped breakfast increased their risk of having a stroke and high blood pressure. The study's authors noted that blood pressure drops after breakfast, meaning that not skipping it could reduce your risk of a brain hemorrhage. Avoiding breakfast, the most important meal of the day, lowers sugar levels, which is needed more to fuel the brain at morning hours. This ultimately causes brain deterioration due to insufficient nutrient supply. 3. Smoking. Did you know that nicotine can actually cause your brain to shrink? And yes, prolonged brain shrinkage can lead to Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia that causes problems with memory, thinking, and behavior. Symptoms usually develop slowly and get worse over time, becoming severe enough to interfere with daily tasks. It is the most common cause of dementia, a general term for memory loss and other cognitive abilities serious enough to interfere with daily life. This is just one of the many damaging effects of smoking. Smoking harms almost every organ of the body. 4. Too much sugar. add brain damage to the things we already associate with a high sugar intake, such as dental cavities, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. Too much sugar messes with the absorption of nutrients in the food we consume, which, in time, can lead to malnutrition. The brain requires good nutrients to keep working at an optimal level. A 2011 study demonstrated a strong link between sugar intake and study participants' cognitive function. 5. Too much salt. After all these years of sugar bashing, you can add another ingredient to the list of nutritional villains: salt. A study published in the Journal of JAMA Neurology exposed salt as one factor contributing to high blood pressure. And indeed, research has proven that a high intake of salt can increase the risk of high blood pressure, which in turn can lead to minor cognitive deficits and an increased risk of stroke. A higher risk of stroke can cause quite severe damage to your brain. 6. Rarely talking to other people. If you've ever lifted weights with concerted effort over a period of time, you'll have experienced hypertrophy. Your muscles get bigger and stronger in response to stimuli. Intellectual conversations are a workout for the brain. You order your thoughts and feelings and then convert them into language, while almost simultaneously making sense of the thoughts and feelings coming from the person or people you're talking to. Do this only rarely and you miss out on some really rewarding brain exercise. Do this more often and you will be amazed at how efficient your brain can be. 7. Overeating. A 2012 study suggests that overeating over time could increase your chances of developing memory loss, or mild cognitive impairment (MCI), later in life. This study implies that in late life, when you are already at increased risk for cognitive impairment, primarily due to Alzheimer's disease, increased caloric intake is associated with increased risk of cognitive impairment, explains behavioral neurologist Dr. Gad Marshall. Whether you're feeling very hungry or you're simply enjoying your dish too much, stuffing your face when you're full is a bad idea. Overeating causes the brain arteries to harden, leading to decreased mental capabilities. 8. Not engaging in stimulating thoughts. Your brain is like a muscle, and if you don't exercise it, it will shrink. The deeper the thoughts, the better the exercise your brain gets, and the healthier it will be in the long term. So read a book, watch a documentary or play some puzzle games. Just keep that thinker thinking. 9. Working your brain during illness. Many adults and students tend to forego their health for their careers and studies. Forcing your brain to work or study at or near full capacity when you're ill or recovering from an illness is a really horrific idea. Why? Because a lot of the energy your body needs to recover is being rerouted from healing to, say, finishing those reports. Forcing the brain during your recovery weakens the immune system even more, making you more susceptible to illness and consequently slow recovery and foggy thinking. 10. Sleeping with your head covered. Is being fully burrowed into the covers cozy? Yes. Can it help lessen the jarring effects of too much light and sound first thing in the morning? Absolutely. But it will also lead to an increased intake of carbon dioxide, which means you're running the risk of damaging your brain cells. Oxygen is vital for brain function. The less of it you draw into your lungs, the less well your brain functions. A good way to create an environment with less oxygen than the 20.95% typically found in the air we breathe is to sleep with a blanket or comforter over your head. Less oxygen and too much carbon dioxide can lead to serious brain damages. That's all we have for you today. Do not forget to like and click the subscribe button. And watch out for our next video.